The silence before thunder. The Kalorn Empire had ruled over 17 star systems for 3,000 years. Their crystalline ships glided through the void like predators, their hulls reflecting the light of conquered suns. When Survey Commander Thexfar discovered the small blue planet in Sector 4-28, he saw nothing more than another primitive world waiting to be harvested. "Environmental scan complete," announced Science Officer Krendall, her 6 eyes focusing on the holographic display. "Third planet from the star. 71% water coverage. Abundant mineral resources. Carbon-based life forms detected." Thexfar's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. Level of technological development. Rudimentary. They've barely mastered atomic fission. Some orbital installations, but nothing that could withstand even our civilian mining vessels. Radio emissions suggest a fractured political structure, multiple competing nations. The commander settled into his command throne, the living crystal conforming to his chitinous form. Perfect. Another easy acquisition for the Empire. Prepare the standard subjugation protocols. 3 decks below, cultural analyst Zarthi reviewed the intercepted transmissions from the blue planet. Unlike her superiors, she found the human broadcasts fascinating. Their languages were complex, their art forms diverse, and their history violent. Remarkably violent for such a young species. "Commander," she ventured during the staff briefing, "I recommend caution with this species. Their historical records show an unusual capacity for warfare and adaptation." Thexfar's antennae twitched dismissively. They still used chemical propulsion for space travel. What possible threat could they pose? Zarthi pulled up a holographic timeline. In less than a century, they've progressed from basic flight to nuclear weapons. Their rate of technological advancement is exponential, and their response to threats is unconventional. Irrelevant, the commander decided. "Signal the harvest fleet. We proceed with standard protocols." The message traveled through subspace to the Kalorn homeworld. Within days, the Empire's leadership had reviewed the survey data and approved the acquisition. Earth would be the Empire's 18th system, its resources stripped, its population either enslaved or eliminated depending on their usefulness. High Admiral Vextor assembled the harvest fleet in the staging grounds of the Kalorn system. 200 vessels gathered, carriers, siege platforms, resource extractors, and the crown jewel of the fleet, the dreadnought Dominator's will. It was a force that had never known defeat. "The humans won't even have time to understand what's happening," Vextor declared to his captains. "By the time we arrive, their crude satellites will barely detect our approach." Meanwhile, on Earth, something stirred in the depths of Cheyenne Mountain. General Patricia Stewart stood before a wall of monitors, each showing different views of the solar system. For 27 years, humanity had known they weren't alone. The first detection of alien signals had triggered the most classified project in human history. "Status report," she commanded. Colonel James McCain stepped forward. "All Sentinel platforms operational. The lunar installations are running dark. Mars Colony has completed their evacuation drills. The asteroid mining operations have successfully camouflaged the weapon platforms." Stewart nodded slowly. "And the fleet, hidden in Jupiter's magnetosphere as planned. 412 vessels ready for deployment. The antimatter engines are performing beyond specifications." The general turned to face the assembled officers. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've had 3 decades to prepare. Every nation on Earth has contributed. Every resource has been allocated. We knew this day would come." On the screen, a technician highlighted an anomaly near Neptune. "General, we're detecting subspace distortions. Multiple contacts incoming." Stewart's expression hardened. "Send the signal. Activate all defensive systems. Humanity's long silence is about to end." The Kalorn Harvest Fleet emerged from subspace in perfect formation. Admiral Vextor stood proudly on his command deck as the blue planet grew larger on the main screen. Initial scans showed exactly what they expected: a primitive world with basic orbital infrastructure. "Commence operations," he ordered. "Send the surrender demand. When they refuse, as primitives always do, we'll. Admiral. The tactical officer's voice cracked with urgency. Massive energy signatures detected throughout the system. Vextor turned sharply. Explain. Unknown configuration. They're everywhere. Jupiter's moons, the asteroid belt, even their own moon. Power readings are off our scales. Before Vextor could respond, space itself seemed to shift. Where moments before there had been empty void, hundreds of human vessels materialized. They emerged from behind moons, from within artificial asteroid fields, from massive cloaking fields that had hidden entire fleet formations. The ships were unlike anything in the Kalorn database. Angular and aggressive, they bristled with weapons that pulsed with barely contained energy. The largest human vessel, a kilometer-long behemoth designated Earth's Defiance, positioned itself directly in the path of the Harvest Fleet. Incoming transmission, reported the communications officer, her voice trembling. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a human face. Admiral Chen Wei spoke with calm authority. Kalorn Empire Harvest Fleet, you have entered sovereign human space. You have exactly one opportunity to reverse course and return to your territory. This is not a negotiation. Vextor recovered from his shock quickly. Primitives, you dare threaten the might of the Kalorn Empire. Your pathetic display changes nothing. Surrender now, and some of you may survive as servants. Admiral Chen's expression didn't change. We've been watching you for 30 years. We know about your empire, your methods, your technology. We've had 3 decades to prepare for this moment. I'll ask one more time. Leave human space immediately. The Kalorn commander's mandibles spread in what passed for a sneer. Fire all weapons. Show these primitives the price of defiance. As the Kalorn weapons charge, Zarthi watched her tactical display with growing horror. The human ships weren't moving like primitive vessels should. They were coordinating with perfect precision, forming geometric patterns that made no tactical sense according to standard doctrine. Commander, she called out urgently, the human formation. It's not defensive. It's. The rest of her warning was lost as space erupted in violence. The Kalorn fleet opened fire with plasma beams and antimatter torpedoes that had reduced worlds to ash. They struck the human vessels and passed through them like ghosts. Hard light holograms, whispered the science officer. The ships we're seeing aren't all real. The true human fleet revealed itself in a coordinated flash of unleashed energy. Weapons unlike anything the Kalorn had encountered tore through space. Gravity weapons that twisted the very fabric of space-time. Directed energy beams that ignored shields entirely. Swarms of nanoscale fighters that devoured hull plating like mechanical locusts. The mighty dominators will shuddered as a focused gravitational pulse compressed its forward section into a sphere the size of a ground vehicle. Secondary explosions rippled through the Kalorn formation as human fighters, too small and fast for targeting computers to track, delivered surgical strikes to critical systems. In the chaos, Vextor screamed orders that went unheeded. His invincible fleet, the pride of the Empire, was being systematically dismantled by a species they had dismissed as barely sapient. The tactical display showed the unthinkable. Kalorn ships exploding, fleeing, or simply ceasing to exist as exotic human weapons rewrote the laws of physics around them. Through the bedlam, Admiral Chen's voice came again, still maddeningly calm. You were warned. Humanity has learned the galaxy is not kind to the weak. We chose to appear weak while we prepared. Now you face the true children of Earth. As his command ship took another gravitational pulse that crumpled its starboard weapons array like paper, Vextor finally understood. They had not discovered a primitive world ripe for conquest. They had awakened something far more dangerous. A species that had looked at the hostile universe and decided to become the predator rather than the prey. The Kalorn Empire had thought Earth stood alone and defenseless. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. When the stars learned to fear, the battle for Earth's solar system erupted across multiple fronts simultaneously. While the main engagement raged near Neptune, humanity's carefully orchestrated strategy unfolded like a deadly flower blooming in the void. Commander Sarah Martinez gripped the controls of her stealth destroyer, Shadow Strike, as it led a pack of similar vessels through the chaos. Their mission was simple: infiltrate the Kalern rear guard and destroy their communication arrays. All units, this is Shadow Lead. Pattern Delta 7 on my mark. Her squadron of 12 ships moved like a school of sharks, their adaptive camouflage rendering them nearly invisible against the star field. The Kalern support vessels, focused on the main battle, never saw them coming. High Admiral Vextor struggled to maintain order as his fleet's formation dissolved. Every tactical doctrine, every battle plan refined over millennia of conquest, crumbled in the face of human unpredictability. "Reform the line," he commanded. "Concentrate fire on their capital ships." His weapons officer turned, confusion evident despite the alien features. "Admiral, we can't get a target lock. Their ships are generating some kind of quantum field. Our computers can't calculate their actual positions." On the human flagship Earth's Defiance, Admiral Chen watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. "Execute Phase 2. Release the swarm." From hidden bases in the asteroid belt, millions of autonomous combat drones awakened. Each no larger than a human fist, they operated on a distributed intelligence network that made them nearly impossible to counter. The swarm flowed through space like a metallic river, engulfing Kalern vessels and eating through their hulls with molecular disassemblers. Cultural analyst Zarthi watched in horrified fascination from her station aboard the crippled Kalern flagship. Everything about human warfare defied conventional understanding. Where the Empire relied on overwhelming force and superior technology, humans employed deception, misdirection, and weapons that seemed to mock the laws of physics. "Admiral," she reported, her voice steady despite the ship shaking around her. "I'm detecting massive energy buildups from Earth's moon." "Something is." The lunar surface erupted. Concealed beneath decades of camouflaged construction, humanity's ultimate deterrent revealed itself. The lunar defense grid, a network of continent-sized energy weapons built into the moon itself, opened fire. Beams of coherent energy, each powerful enough to crack a small moon, lanced through space. They struck with surgical precision, vaporizing Kalern capital ships while leaving smaller vessels untouched. It was a display of both overwhelming power and restraining control. General Patricia Stewart observed the battle from her command center beneath Cheyenne Mountain. Status of the Revelation Protocol. "All major Earth governments have gone public," her aide reported. "The population is handling it better than predicted. Social media is calling it Independence Day for real." Stewart allowed herself a slight smile. Humanity always did rise to a challenge. Signal the Mars contingent. Time for the hammer strike. From behind Mars, where they had been hidden by the planet's mass, emerged humanity's heavy assault fleet. These weren't the sleek destroyers or nimble fighters that had confused the Kalern forces. These were brutal instruments of war, kilometer-long dreadnoughts bristling with weapons that human physicists had developed in secret laboratories. Captain Johann Mueller commanded the dreadnought Retribution, its experimental quantum torpedoes armed and ready. All siege vessels, target their command ships. Show them what happens when you threaten Earth. The quantum torpedoes phased through normal space, reappearing inside Kalern shields before detonating. The explosions didn't just destroy, they unraveled matter at the subatomic level, creating brief tears in space-time that consumed everything nearby. On the Kalern flagship, systems failed cascadingly. Vextor stared at displays showing the impossible, his mighty harvest fleet being torn apart by a species that had supposedly just discovered nuclear fission mere decades ago. "How?" he whispered. The surveys showed they were primitive, divided, weak. Zarthi stepped forward, her compound eyes reflecting the explosions visible through the viewport. "They were never weak, Admiral. They chose to appear so. Every broadcast we intercepted, every sign of division. It was theater. They united in secret and prepared for wars we couldn't imagine. A new transmission cut through the chaos. This time, it wasn't Admiral Chen who appeared on screen, but an elderly human with kind eyes that held steel beneath their surface. She spoke with a slight accent that Zarthi's translator identified as Russian. "I am Dr. Elena Volkov, director of Earth's Unity Project. For 30 years, every nation, every people, every brilliant mind on our planet has worked toward this moment. We knew that if we were not alone, we would eventually face those who saw our resources as theirs to take." She paused, letting her words sink in. "We study your empire, Kalorn. We know you have conquered 17 systems. We know you have never faced meaningful resistance. Today, that changes." The screen split, showing feeds from across the solar system. Human fleets had emerged at every strategic point. Massive defense platforms materialized around Earth itself, their shields interlocking to form an impenetrable barrier. On Mars, previously hidden cities rose from beneath the red sand, their spires reaching toward space. "We offer you one final chance," Dr. Volkov continued. "Retreat. Return to your empire and spread this message. Earth is defended. Humanity stands united, and we are done hiding." Vextor's pride warred with reality. His fleet was in ruins, half his ships destroyed or disabled. The humans had demonstrated weapons that defied understanding and tactics that revolutionized warfare itself. But it was what happened next that would echo through galactic history. From Earth's surface, a signal pulse radiated outward. It was no weapon, but rather a message, broadcast in every known galactic language, on every frequency, with a power that ensured it would reach every corner of nearby space. To all civilizations within range of this transmission, we are humanity. We have evolved on the third planet of this system you see before you. For 30 years, we have known we were not alone. We have prepared. We do not seek war, but we will not tolerate aggression. Earth is our home. We will defend it with technologies you cannot comprehend and determination you cannot break. We extend a hand of friendship to those who come in peace. To those who come for conquest, we offer only this warning. We are no longer hiding. The message included technical data, specifications of human weapons, demonstrations of their quantum computers, evidence of their unified global government. It was a declaration that changed the galaxy's understanding of power structures overnight. Vextor made his decision. All remaining vessels, retreat, full withdrawal to Empire space. As the battered Kalorn fleet limped toward the system's edge, Admiral Chen opened a final channel. "Hi, Admiral Vextor. You came here believing you found a primitive world standing alone. Instead, you discovered a species that spent 3 decades turning our entire star system into a fortress. Tell your empire what you witnessed here. Tell them that humanity's battleship fleet is just the beginning." The aftermath would reshape galactic politics for generations. The Kalorn Empire, humiliated and weakened, would face rebellions from systems that had lived under their rule. Other aggressive species would think twice before approaching Earth's sector. But perhaps the most significant change was in humanity itself. United by the external threat, Earth's nations had finally transcended their divisions. The technologies developed in secret were released for civilian use, propelling human civilization into a golden age of expansion and discovery. Dr. Volkov stood on the observation deck of the newly revealed Luna City, watching the stars with her granddaughter. "What happens now, Grandma?" the child asked. "Now, my dear, we join the galaxy not as subjects or conquerors, but as equals. We've shown them that humanity will not go quietly into servitude. We've shown them that Earth will never stand alone again." In deep space, cultural analyst Zarthi filed her final report on the human encounter. Her conclusion would become required reading in sinological studies across the galaxy. They let us believe Earth stood alone. They allowed us to think them weak. In truth, they had transformed their entire system into a weapon and their species into an army. They are not primitive beings who stumbled into space. They are predators who learned to hide among the stars until they were ready to bare their fangs. The galaxy will never be the same. The legend spread throughout known space. The small blue planet that had seemed so vulnerable had revealed itself as a sleeping giant. The humans had spent 30 years in patient preparation, turning their solar system into an unassailable fortress. And when the Kalorn thought Earth stood alone, humanity's battleship fleet had taught the galaxy a lesson it would never forget. Never underestimate the children of Earth, for when threatened, they do not cower or surrender. They evolve, they adapt, they overcome, and they are no longer alone.